Well, here I am at Rochester's Guildhall Museum talking about the launch of a new book called Steam, Smoke and Mirrors, and it's published by Caffeine Nights. The author is here with me today. His name is Colin Edmonds. He's best known for being a comedy writer for every comic under the sun. For me, my idol was and still is and always will be Bob Monkhouse, and he was a genius. And this is the man behind the genius of Bob Monkhouse. He was Bob's gag writer, right-hand man. He was his confidant. He was everything to him. And
no, I helped out a bit.
Yeah, just a bit.
Just a bit.
And he's now an author, and a published author by Caffeine Nights, and it's called Steam, Smoke and Mirrors, and Colin's here to talk about it today.
Here it is here.
This is here.
This is the very book.
So, Steam, Smoke and Mirrors, Colin, what's it about? Give us a rough synopsis of it.
Steam, Smoke and Mirrors.
Yeah.
It's a novel about a Victorian magician
Yeah.
and his assistant. Michael Magister is the name of the Victorian magician. He works the music hall, and Phoebe Le Breton, is his assistant.
Yeah.
And they are terrific steampunk magicians on the stage of the Metropolitan Theatre of Steam, Smoke and Mirrors on the Edgware Road in London. It's a theatre which really existed. I've just changed the title a bit. And they, as Victorian magicians, are seconded to the special branch to help solve the more weird, arcane, mysterious crimes that the police are frankly quite baffled by.
Yeah.
And of course, being magicians, they're used to sleight of hand and subterfuge and the black arts and mysterious goings on. The head of the special branch is a real guy, really existed, called Sir William Melville.
Is that who you used in the book?
He really exists,
Yeah.
And so he approaches Michael Magister and Phoebe Le Breton and says, I've got a problem with the crime here, and I think you're the only two people that can help me with it. The Victorian era was so fascinating.
Well, this is my next question. Why pick that era? That's what I was going to say. Why pick that era? Just because of the fascination, your personal fascination, or just generally because of the time that the Industrial Revolution had just happened 100 years before that? We were moving forward technically. Is this what the interest was for you there?
Absolutely. The Victorian period was a time when there was a new invention every day.
Yeah.
You know, they invented the motor car, they invented the aeroplane,
Yeah.
they invented the computer even. Charles Babbage back in 1840-something.
Is that how long ago it was?
He was the precursor of
I know
the
it was.
computer.
Yeah, well, that was where Bob once again called Mr. Babbage the computer on Family Fortunes.
Family Fortunes,
yeah.
Absolutely. At that time, he was the only person in the world that had heard of Charles Babbage. But of course, now everyone knows about Charles Babbage. And also, the Victorians invented the sewers, which is probably the greatest invention
Absolutely, yeah.
that has ever been created.
Yeah.
But what's great about the Victorian era is if you look around this lovely room we're in now, the Victorians never did anything by halves. It was all artistic. It was always beautifully designed. Even a gent's loo was a beautiful work of art. What I'd like to do is to introduce a wider audience to the beauty and the art of steampunk.
Right.
I mean, steampunk's a wonderfully artistically creative medium, and people who are steampunk fans really are very smart. You know, you've got the costume yourself.
Yeah, I love it. I love that look. Yeah.
And they're great designers.
Yeah.
And they've got wonderful artistic minds, and they're engineers. They really, as a community, they really are fascinating, wonderfully bright, brilliant people. And if Steam, Smoke and Mirrors can open steampunk even wider to a bigger audience, then I'd be thrilled. Someone said to me, Joe, what's the best definition of steampunk? The best definition of steampunk really is if you can imagine the Sex Pistols meeting Jules Verne.
Oh, yeah, it's a great.
Which is a nice analogy.
It is. Did you have to do a lot of research on magicians generally of that day and what sort of stuff they were doing, or not? Have you just?
Yes.
Because magic hasn't changed a lot over the years. Obviously, technology has become available, but I still think there's only 7 basic illusions which have come over the years.
I don't profess to be a magic expert. I love magic. I'm enthralled by the methodology of how magic tricks are performed.
Yeah.
And really, it doesn't matter if you know how a trick's done.
Yeah.
If you know what the trick is, you enjoy the performance, don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I work with you. You're a magician. I work a little bit with Paul Daniels. He's a terrific magician. Great illusionists, and Wayne Dobson and folk like that. They are the most intelligent people, magicians, that you ever come across, because there's an awful lot of design involved, there's an awful lot of performance involved in order to misdirect the audience.
Yeah.
I think it's just the art of magic is so clever, and that's big illusions. Then you get the close-up dexterity of card manipulation.
Yeah.
That's clever as well, and it's such a broad canvas, magic, and I just love the Victorian era and the idea of Victorian musical magicians, just I thought was a fascinating genre to explore.